Hi everyone, my name is Tony Tan. Welcome to the Tony Tan Show and Podcast. The traditional brick-and-mortar retailers are going through tremendous pressure brought about by disruptions. The first disruption was brought about by the rise of the internet, where traditional and non-traditional players like Amazon, Netflix, as well as Alibaba, powered by AI, is changing the way we shop. Massive sales are going online today. And the second disruption is caused by the COVID-19 that's accelerating some of these trends. Will our brick-and-mortar retailers be able to survive in this age of disruptions? We're very excited today to have our next guest, Gary Ng. Gary has over 15 years of experience in the retail industry. Gary was the director of IT for both Harvey Norman Singapore and Harvey Norman Malaysia. He was previously the director of IT for DFS, which is a subsidiary for Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. And Gary will share with us what does the future of retail look like and some of these new concepts that we're going to see in the future. So let us all welcome Gary Ng. Hi Gary, welcome
Tony.
to the Tony Tan Show and Podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very fascinated. I'm looking through your bio, and for the last, you've been in retail for 15 years, at least 15 years, right?
Thereabouts, yeah.
And you were, Harvey Norman,
Harvey Norman, yes.
and that's one of the most well-known retailers in Singapore and Australia. Such a big group, everything from furniture to electronics. I'm a big fan of Harvey Norman actually. Right.
Wonderful.
And you were also formerly from DFS, right?
Yes.
You had multiple appointments in DFS, and of course we all know DFS in Singapore. Mm-hmm. And DFS is also a subsidiary of Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, one of
Correct.
the biggest luxury brands in the world, headquartered in Paris, if I'm not wrong.
That's correct.
So in 15 years, this is such a golden period of retail, because I call it golden because there is so much changes going on, right? And you are in the midst of all these changes and all these, some people call it disruptions that's been happening. And I think this has accelerated the last couple of years. So in your experience in the last 15 years when you were in retail, how do you see some of these changes happening? What were some of these changes that you see when you were in these companies?
There are three. First is the pervasive use of IT.
Mm-hmm.
Second is the entry of the non-retailers.
Mm-hmm.
Third is the brick-and-mortar guys playing catch-up.
Right.
So first, when I started in IT, I was involved in retail. You just have simple systems like, point of sales at the front end. Back end is all manual. And then they progress to having an ERP in the back end that interface with the front end for the day-end sales. And then thereafter, they have got the front end being enhanced to online. And then now we have online live streaming and all that. So it's gone through quite a lot, and it's been progressive and pervasive. Number two is the entry of non-retailers like the Amazon, Alibaba. Now, if you ask me, they're not retailers per se. If you look at their profile, they are IT companies,
Right,
who happen to have the ability to get into retail to disrupt the entire industry. And third, as a result of that, the brick-and-mortar retailers end up playing the catch-up game, and it's still happening. So that's what I've seen in the past few years. Yeah.
We have seen, some of these famous companies like Blockbusters has been totally disrupted, right? And this big migration and this big ooh-ha. And all of us has gone online for all these shopping experiences. And increasingly, we are seeing a big pattern. And this pattern is not going to stop anytime soon about online purchase. And there's a lot of talk about the death of the traditional retailers as well, right? What do you think are some of the benefits or some of the experiences? Because retailing is a lot about end-user experiences, right? What are some of these experiences that is advantageous to an online retailer, that makes them so successful today?
Okay, I think the first thing is the 24/7. Is available all day online. You can shop at any time. So for people like shoppers, do you shop?
Oh, I love to shop, Gary.
shop,
I'm a
right?
big fan of shopping.
Right. So you shop online, you shop in the comfort of your bedroom, on the bed, at the sofa.
Right.
So it's very convenient, right? You can
Right.
shop anytime you want to. You don't have to wait for store opening hours. You don't need to be chased out by the retailers when they're about to close. And secondly, you let your fingers do the walking. It's so natural, right? You go online, you do a research on the product, you do comparison. After that, when you find what you want, you just add it onto your cart, and bingo, you're able to buy something. So that's something which online can offer. It's very, very, very convenient.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also think that online allows us to have a bit more differentiation in the sense that there's a lot of talk about, especially in today's marketing, about personalization, right?
Yes.
And when you go online, because it's so data-driven and
Yes.
to a large extent it's AI-driven, and you get a form of personalization experience. They remember your name, they remember your preference, and that also enhance that online shopping experience, would you say?
Yes, that creates what we call a stickiness. So as a shopper, it becomes so sticky, right? It remembers what you bought.
Right.
And then it's able to recommend to you what others are buying for what you've bought. So as a result, you might end up buying more and more if you're not careful. I do online shopping, and there were times where I did purchase more than what I thought I wanted to buy.
Yeah.
So it's sticky. It can be addictive if you're not careful.
All right.
Because it's so convenient and so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing about online shopping that was really, I think Amazon did it very well, was that frictionless experience.
Yes.
That one-click purchase. It's just so simple. You want to buy a book for Kindle, one-click purchase. You want to buy an audiobook, one-click purchase.
Yes.
It's just a few buttons and you're done.
Yes.
It's just so easy to spend money nowadays online.
Very convenient.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess this has driven so much success for the online retailers. And the traditional retailers, I think they feel that it's like a siege mentality, right? They feel that there is this play, right, augmented by all this data, augmented by this AI, and augmented by this scale. Because the other thing that online stores can do is they can go scale that traditional retailers will not, right? They can scale far, far faster than what a brick-and-mortar or what we call analog store could do, right? But I also believe that there are certain things that today that is still very, very unique to an analog store, right? In terms of the experience with it. What do you think, Gary? Your experience, right? What are some of the things that analog stores can today give us that online experience will never be able to provide?
Okay, good question. I'm not sure if you shop at Robinsons in the old days. When I was a young guy, I shopped at Robinsons at Center Point. Today, I remember the aunties who served me. Right?
Yes.
These aunties, they are so warm, they are so personal. That's something that online you cannot get. And for the elders, right, the aunties, the way they serve them is as if these elders were their parents, right? And then for the younger chaps, the way they serve you as if you were their children, right? So they will engage you. If you're looking for a bed, they will ask you, is your back okay? Are you looking for a bed that is soft, hard, that's able to support your back? Looking at your height, I think you need a bigger bed. So they kind of guide you to test the bed. They allow you to sleep there for a while. So you get a warm feeling there, right? Even I remember there was one time I was buying a blazer. Right? They look at me and then they say, okay, I think this will look good on you. They took me to a shelf and then they showed me. So it's warm, it's personal. So I like that. Online, you can't do that.
Yeah. I think if you look at, especially when you look at bedding, it's something that it's just very hard to get the experience when you're online, right? You need to try out the mattress, you need to try the pillow.
Absolutely.
When you say firm, soft, medium, what does it mean, right? How do words even explain what is a medium pillow?
Absolutely.
Right.
You cannot try a bed online.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot buy, let's say, a headset online.
Yes.
You can read all the reviews you want,
Right.
but you cannot hear the headset.
Yeah.
If you can't hear it, how do you know you're buying the right one?
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
And you're talking about fashion, right? I think fashion is a very interesting thing. If I go into a store, or for that matter, skincare, right? I want someone who recommends, someone who knows me, look at my height, look at my skin tone.
Yes.
Right? Look at my job, look at my aspirations,
Absolutely.
my haircut, my personality, and they will recommend, right? And they can hear from you,
Yes.
and oftentimes you might not be the best position to make the best choices. But people who are in the know armed with this knowledge, and also when I say knowledge, it's not just about knowledge of fashion, but general knowledge. They are able to correlate information and provide you guidance, right? That you otherwise would have not been able to get, right?
The other thing is that, with analog stores, most of us, right, especially for the ladies, they don't shop alone. They shop with their friends.
Right.
And it's not the same as shopping online with your friend, looking at one screen. So if a lady would to shop with a friend, buying a dress or whatever, the friend can be there to give the opinion.
Yeah.
Right? To kind of contrast or compare with what a salesperson is talking about. So the kind of experience, you can't get it online. You can only get it at the in-store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at today, we go to the store, it's about making new friends, right? It's about the friendly banter. It's about that bargaining, of course. Not all stores bargain, but we all know when we travel, we like to bargain. Certain stores, certain countries. And we get the dopamine rush where we get a good price and we get a price that we want. It's like a victory. And that's part of the retail therapy. That's a part of the retail experience that we look forward to when we travel.
Absolutely.
And this is something that is very, very difficult to replicate, right?
Yes.
And it's not just about the experience. And you look at these millennials today, you look at this Generation Z, it's all about TikTok, it's all about Instagram, it's all about taking that nice selfie, in the experience. And that kind of selfies, that kind of videos, I think it's important that, this is what the retail can give it to them, right? I mean, they can take pictures and that's also an opportunity for retailers there, right? To cater to this generation. And at the same time, if you look at the analog retailers, I'm not sure, but if you look at the new Apple store that's now in Singapore, that's near Marina Bay Sands, right? It is also about engaging the senses. Emotional connection is one thing. It's about engaging the senses as well. And you look at the facade, and you look at the smell when you go into a nice store. If you look at online experience, it's just like visuals, and of course, your fingers are doing the clicking. But when you go to online stores, all your senses are involved as a human, right? You see, you hear, you smell, you touch, you feel. Sometimes you even taste, right? So this multi-OMI engagement, it is very key to a traditional analog store. Would you say so?
Let's look at some examples. Look at Donkey. Have you ever shopped at the Japanese grocery store, Donkey? Now, Donkey is quite amazing. At least in Singapore, they don't do online sale. They don't. I tried, but they don't. So the first thing that I noticed when you go to the store is they engage your smell. So they've got this food, the famous Japanese yakimo. It smells so good. It's long queue. So you go there to buy the yakimo. So having bought the yakimo, you tasted the goodness of the food. And then the store just there. And you thought, why not I go in and shop? Right? And then you go in there, you will shop. And then when you get into the store, the other thing that you will see is the big, bright signs, red fonts, shouting discounts, reduced prices, imported from Japan, fresh. What do? You check them out, you touch them, you feel them, you buy them. The third one is that it engages your mind. It's a song, the Dong Dong Donkey song. It's catchy. It is short.
Okay.
So it gets you into the mood of shopping. You're happy, you shop, and then you buy.
Yeah.
But after a while, you get a bit annoyed because it keeps repeating in your mind, and then you're distracted. After that, you get to just into the mood of buying again, and then you buy faster, and then you buy more things,
Right.
And then, so it engages all your 5 senses. And I love to shop there. So does my wife. Okay, then the other example of such value add and lifestyle is Apple. If you've been to the Apple store in Singapore, it's long queue. It looks like a huge market, but actually it's quite organized. So once you step in there, level 1 is what they call the avenue. That's where they have all their core items like iPhone, iPad, the Apple Watch. They're all there. And then you go to the second floor. The central piece is the forum, where as a shopper, you can get in there to engage the experts, You get to listen to workshops, shows, on the big TV screen. And then flanking the forum is what they call the Genius Growth. And there are two, compared to other Apple stores whereby they have the Genius Bar. In this case, there are two. So this is where you can get the tech support from the experts. And then they even invite local people like photographers, filmmakers to give talks about how to use the products. So all in all, if you look at them, they actually let you have a chance to look at how their products work together. And the other thing is the environment. So if you look at the environment, you step in there, right? You see the tall glass facade, and there are trees in the stores. So they bring the outside in. So it's a very conducive environment. So as a customers, I would like to go there again and again to buy more.
Me too.
Yeah. The other example of lifestyle is cafe. 3 weeks ago, I went to a cafe. It's got nice, cozy seats for friends to get together. It's got high communal table. It's got counter seats, with points where you can charge your laptops and an iPhone. So one look, you will know, this will attract couples, friends, even mobile workers to be there. So as I was there, I was sipping coffee with my friend. And this young chap, he came, with a set of cards. He said, "Sir, would you mind if I do some card tricks with you?" The usual tricks, pick one card, then after that he shuffle it. He says, "This is what you pick." I said, "Yeah." And then I asked him, "So you're hired just for this job to do some magic?" He said, "No, I am the co-founder."
Wow.
How cool is that, right? Cool. So they entertain you. It's a cozy environment, so it's nice. And then across the street, there's another cafe. It's lifestyle. So they sell beer as well, draft beer. So you can sip coffee there, listening to vinyl records, music play in the background. And guess what? You can even buy the vinyl record from them as well.
Wow, I'd like to check that out.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. It's cozy, it's nice, it's lifestyle. Now, as a retailer, what can you do? So take a cue from these guys, right? Let's say, for example, if you're a fashion retailer, what can you do to increase the traffic in your store? So you might want to engage fashion influencers, get them together with your customers. The influencer can actually advise your customer on a garment that suits them and their budget. Right? And then they can discuss ideas as well. And then what if you're a gaming equipment retailer? What can you do? You can set up a big gaming room. You can get together the gaming influencers together with gaming enthusiasts or wannabe influencers. So you get this wannabes to play game together. All right. The winner can then get to play the games with their idols. So you can create some kind of a Champions League,
Right.
And then you can attract more people into your store. And if you're a gym retailer, why don't you take a leaf out of this Selfridges in London, right? They partner with Boxing Gym, BSR. They have a in-store gym, where the customers can actually book a session with a coach or trainer to do some boxing. So these are things that the retailers can do. So let's move on to the next point, which is the convergence and hybrid retailers. So these are actually digital stores, right, which make use of big data and AI. So let's take example the likes of Alibaba and Amazon Go. Amazon Go has got a digital store. As a customer, you go in there, you use the app, you browse, you pick the item, and off you go. Right? Note, I use the word "off you go." So then you ask, then how can I pay? But it's easy, right? Because you have an account with Amazon. Amazon will just invoice it and bill you. But off you go. That means there's no human touch, right? You can feel. And it combines the online. That's what they can give you.
Gary, that was really important, those insights. I think we need to understand how the analog retailers, what is their true strengths, and we hear it very clearly from your very brilliant way of describing some of the capabilities that they have. We are also seeing currently today, the online stores are moving downwards, right? They are creating digital stores that's driven by some of their strengths like AI and data. How do you see the future of retail? How will we look like, in your opinion?
Let's talk about the three aspects. The online store has its strengths. It's able to know what you have purchased before. It's able to recommend you, so it's convenient. Digital stores, it allows you to have touch and feel, like Amazon Go, right? You go in there, you browse, you pick an item, and off you go. Analog store, it lacks that, but it has a human touch. All right, I'd like to share an experience in Italy. I was once there for a holiday. It was right smack in the middle of the European Championship. So I was in a cafe, having a coffee, and the live match was going on. Italy was playing somebody, and Italy let in a goal. And the guy who served me, he went crazy. So he was cursing and swearing. So I said, "Hey guy, cool, chill. What's going on?" And then he spoke in Italian and English mix. And I said, "They let in a goal, you know. This is silly, it's stupid, you know." And then we discussed about, you know, what their football team can do better. What did he think about football in Italy? So the whole experience was very natural and spontaneous. You can't get that in the digital or online stores. However, the analog store could take a leap out of online and digital stores. So for example, if you're an online store, you can make use of augmented reality, AR. So imagine you're a shopper, you go in there with your mobile phone. You scan the QR code of a product. Right on your phone, the details came up. And then you're able to actually superimpose, let's say, your spouse onto your phone, you know, to see how he or she could actually fit into that merchandise. Concurrently, the sales guy was alerted, you know, that you were there shopping, and he can come to you and offer you, you know, the service. So I believe the way to go actually is to combine all three: online, digital, and analog. It's convergence. It's all about convergence.
With these digital stores, the interesting thing is that, you know, they can still do everything. You know, they give you the best of both worlds, right? They give you the touch and feel. They give you the hyper personalization because they have all this data driven. They have this image recognition where you go into a store, they know who you are, what you have purchased, you know, and they are able to address your specific needs. Right.
Absolutely.
So you talk about retailers or people who are in the service line. There's two sides of it. Sometimes you get good service, but that's not all the time. Sometimes you
Yes.
get bad service as well,
Yes.
right? So you don't really have to worry about the HR side of things, right? You just have to make sure that you continue in a very cold manner, if I might add. You get some of the experience and you get a frictionless experience, and you know, and you get the things your purchase done. So it's kind of like a hybrid model, would you say?
Yes. I think it's always good to have a hybrid model. See, we are social creatures. If anything, this COVID-19 shows the fact that human beings want to be engaged. People can't wait to get out of the house, right? After the circuit breaker phase 2 open up, people can't wait to get out. So we're all social creatures. So it's important to have that in a store.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is missing from the digital store.
It's
Digital
missing.
store, that's the thing that we wanted to drive at, right?
Yes.
I mean, they have the online frictional experience, they have the data-driven experience, they have the AI capabilities,
Yes.
but then they also have the touch and feel for
It's
the
not
things that
there.
they are giving you, but that human touch,
Yes.
right? That we humans have evolved in the last hundreds of thousands of years to be, you know, physically connected as social connected creatures. That part is totally missing.
It's missing. I mean, think about it. If you're a regular of a boutique or of a store, after a while, the salesperson will know you, and he or she will engage you or address you by your name. Yes, the online can do that, you know, but online you cannot see the smile of the person, you know. And he haven't seen you for a long time. So when he or she sees you, you're like, "Hey, Tony, how are you doing? You know, how's life been? You know." So you can't get that online. Let me share an experience. You know, one time I was in Italy for a holiday when it happened to be the European Football Championship. So I went into the store. I had coffee there, and there was a live match going on. So the guy was watching the match as he was serving us. So when Italy let in a goal, the guy was cursing. He was passionate. So I was saying, hey, guy, cool, chill.
Right.
So he was speaking Italian. He said, no, you can't accept that. So I thought it was so natural. You can't get that online. So and I enjoyed the chat with him. What did he think of his football team? Where do you think he can do better? So you can get it online. You can get it from a robot online, definitely, because it happens naturally.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was very interested about this use case about SIA, right? And SIA is one of the top airlines in the world, right?
Yeah.
Actually, with today's technology, AI, we also can replace the cabin crews with robotic servants, so to speak, right? Robotic servers. And the galley can be replaced by automated serving mechanisms, right? We really don't need a human to serve us food in that sense. But what makes SIA truly unique is we want that human connection. Every time when you step on the plane, you want someone to welcome you back. It's a face of someone that's familiar, and you want someone to take your jacket away from you.
Yes.
You want someone to serve you a drink with a smile.
You want to be pampered.
You want to be pampered. You want that. You want a personal experience. When you're not feeling well, you want a person to share some care. Give you some Panadol. You feel a bit of warmth, right? A bit of that is totally missing, and can never be replaced.
Agree.
And technology will never replace this. And we crave this as human because you look at the Maslow law hierarchy of needs, right? I think one of the most basic things that human needs is that human connection, is that human social bonds that we are looking for, the state of belonging, right? And I think this is totally missing from the digital store. It's totally missing from the online stores.
Absolutely. Talking about the airline, I recall there was one case I saw in papers last year. Not sure which airline was that. A young air steward was feeding an old lady, literally feeding her, as if he was feeding his mother. And when I look at the picture, I was like, wow, this is touching.
Yeah.
And this is something only a human can do.
Yes, exactly.
The way he feed her, you look at his face with a lot of care. The guy wasn't faking.
Right.
It was real. He was feeding her patiently.
Right.
You can't get there.
And let's
online.
look at it this way. You're not feeling well, someone put a blanket over you.
Yeah.
Someone can check on you occasionally. Are you okay?
Yes.
If it's your first flight, you have turbulence and you have fear of flight. There's someone hold your
Yes.
hands and tell you don't worry. This is what we humans do.
Yes.
All right, this is what we humans do for each other, and this is something that creates stories, create life experiences. At the end of the day, that's what we want. Right? And this is something that I feel is a really, really big part that's missing from all these digital stores, from all these online experiences that we're talking about. Right, the social fabric is simply not there, especially in today, when we talk about social media. We are getting a little bit more distance in terms of physical connections, right?
Yes.
I feel that retail is, especially the analog stores, is a great place for us to bring back these connections, bring back all these stories, these moments of life, for good and for bad, but it's something that we experience, as we journey through life.
Yeah.
How do you see the future of retail? Now that we have three different type of retailers, we have the online, the pure AI data driven, we have the analog brick and mortar retailers, and then we have the digital stores that gives you a bit of both but lack the human touch.
I think omni-channel is the way to go. You cannot have just one and not the other two. So you need a combination of three. But especially for the brick-and-mortar retailer, they really have to reinvent themselves, rise up from where they're at. So, for example, I was quoting the experience of the aunties that I've engaged in the shopping center, Robinsons. That kind of human touch, they really should bring it back. The other thing, what they can do is to create a seamless shopping experience, as if you can enjoy online. So, for example, imagine if you step into a analog store with your phone. We all have phones, right? When you put your phone in front of an item, like a cup, And then suddenly the augmented label pops up. It shows you the specs, the details of that cup or the blazer. And then on the phone, the app is able to compare similar models. And then you can look, there is also a promotion for this item. So as you are looking at the phone while in the store, the sales guy might also be alerted. Then he can pop over and kind of guide you further. How about that?
Wow.
How
Sounds
about
good.
that? How about that? Combining personal touch as well as IT.
Right.
It's available. It can be done.
It is already here.
Yeah. So the stores can do that. Yeah.
So what you're saying, Gary, are you saying that the future, the retail 2.0 is a converged experience,
Yes.
the best of all three combined, that you are able to bring, they will also provide online retail experience.
Yes.
And the brick-and-mortar stores will fuse with the digital stores to provide
Absolutely.
the strengths of all three of them.
Yes.
Hyper-personalization, data-driven, the personal touch, the
Yes.
engage your senses,
Yes.
that's lifestyle, the service, the stories, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if the retailers are able to do that today and they are able to evolve, they're able to pivot and they're able to utilize the strengths of all three, it is going to be a major breakthrough.
I'm excited. I mean, secondly, right, if you can use, let's go one step further, right?
Right.
With the phone, I can see the product here. Let's say I'm with my partner. I'm with Tony.
Right.
I can actually superimpose the image on Tony to see how it looks like on Tony
Right.
or your spouse.
Yes.
But you're in store and you're doing it with a phone, and you can't do this online, right? So a lot of things that we can do.
You
While
basically
in store.
Yeah, basically you're using digital and you analog and you are enriching the experience, right?
Yes.
You're extending. Actually, what you're saying, Gary, is you're extending our senses now.
Yes.
Right, and this is so exciting. It's not just engaging, but extending it, right? And
Yes.
we're talking a little bit about more like which is interesting, which is the next topic I'll talk about, right? You're talking a little bit about augmented reality here.
Yes.
Right, and this technology is now developing so fast and is already being used, although unevenly across different industries. But augmented reality,
It's
as well
available.
as 5G, is already here. And of course,
Available.
you are from NetLink Trust, I'm sure you know a lot about 5G. And of course, the last one, which is advanced robotics, right?
Yes.
How do you see we can infuse, right, 5G, advanced robotics, and some of that you mentioned earlier, augmented reality, right, to extend the senses, to amplify, the experiences and the working productivity of these analog stores?
I think the retailers, especially those brick-and-mortar ones, they really got to consider all this techie stuff. They're readily available. Get feedback from consumers. Look at what the others are doing, and be ready to change and embrace them. I think the most important thing is to embrace all these changes that are coming. Don't dodge them. Don't be afraid of them. 5G is here. In fact, it's already here. Robotics is already here. AR certainly is here. So, yeah, we should embrace them.
All right. So, what do you think the role that robots will play in the retail scene in the future?
Robots can do some of the heavy lifting stuff. That's an interesting question. I think a word of caution, yeah. Don't do robotics for the sake of doing robotics. Certainly, it can do a lot of things. You see, there are companies that use robotics to automate work. I think that's well and fine. But if you were to use robotics as a way to market your product, that's where you got to be careful. Firstly, are you doing this to showcase the robot? Or are you doing this to sell your product? What is your objective? Because the robotics can amuse the consumer for a while, right? But the novelty can wear off.
Right.
And once the novelty wears off, it is the product that will
Right.
carry you through.
Yeah.
So if your product still cannot do what you claim it should be, your robots can't help you.
Right.
It's only a novelty. It will
Right.
wear off.
Right.
But robots are good because it can do the heavy lifting.
Right.
Like robots is able to lift heavy stuff which we humans cannot do.
Right.
Robots is able to make let's say, coffee seamlessly.
Right.
They're able to make pizzas faster with accuracy.
Right.
Right. But that's what it can do. But the pizza or the coffee made by a robot, is it better than the ones made by human beings? Or is it the same? And if it's the same, then I think the novelty might wear off, after a while.
Yep. And I really, I'd like to concur what you have said. Imagine I step into a cafe right now, right? And even if there's a robotic coffee, and there are who can make excellent lattes and, in fact, lattes we're talking about. The thing is this, we go to cafe for the experience to talk to the barista.
Yes.
How's your coffee beans today? Where are coffee beans from? All right.
Yeah.
And we will look at the tattoo that he has on his arm, the year start, the character of a barista.
Yes.
And that's why today you see baristas are, like sushi chefs, they're always on the front because they want to engage the experience, right, with the customers. Your coffee, your robotics could be making the coffee at the back end, right? Or they could be the one that's roasting the coffee at the back end. Or they could be the one that's carrying the coffee at the back end.
They are the helpers.
Or even drones to deliver the coffee.
Yeah.
But the retail experience, all right, the retail experience that you have mentioned, that where you go in and you want that human touch.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So I think there's this topic about coexistence because, from our conversation, it's very clear, that you believe that about convergence, you believe that bring the best together. What you're saying is that coexistence of humanity and robots, coexistence of humanity and technology and artificial intelligence, augmented reality, right? My question to you, Gary, is what are the three things that makes human different, all right, from all this technology, and what are the areas that they need to develop so that they stay relevant and they're able to coexist with these technologies?
I think the first thing is we should not fear. We should not be afraid of AI. We should not be afraid of robotics. I read the news yesterday. Our minister, Lawrence Wong, what he said was correct. Not everything is tech heavy. We need to double up on our human strength. There's something that we have that the robots don't have. So we should focus on that. So let's say, for example, the other day I was talking to a young friend of mine. She was a nurse. She quit, and then now she wants to get back into nursing. And as she says, she wants to apply for a nursing job in operating theatre. And I thought that was encouraging. She is not looking at high-tech stuff, high-end stuff. She wants to be able to be in the healthcare to care. So that's something that human beings can do. So don't try to think of, trying to overcome AI, trying to beat them. Live with them, coexist with them. Robots cannot do what we do now. Right? You and I have the rapport, we know each other. Robots can't do that. Robots can't work with you and me now to, let's say, negotiate a business deal with somebody.
Right.
Robots can't do that. At least not now. But human beings can do that. So we should focus on our human strength. What is it that we can do? And do not fear.
And what do you think are some of these human strengths that we are talking about, that robots cannot replicate?
Okay, there are a lot of things that we humans have and robots cannot do. I'll give you a few examples. Soft skills, EQ, empathy, and I'll add a last one, pray. Soft skills and EQ. I've ever tried to talk to some AI programs now. So, for example, if you try, say, to a robot, hey, Tony, don't be silly. Let's see how it responds. The response may not be what you expected because robot is not able to tell whether you are angry or you are teasing him or her or you're just making a comment. So if I say to you, Tony, don't be silly, you know how to respond. But a robot, they give you different kind of response which you at least expect. So that is one. Second is empathy. Between you and your spouse or me and my friends, we can share our feelings. We can talk about how we felt the entire week. We can talk about how we felt the entire day. Did we have a good day at work or bad day at work? And your spouse and your friend can respond. But a robot is not able to demonstrate or show empathy. Okay. The last one is pray. Humans can pray. Humans know how to pray and when to pray. Robots cannot pray. I tell you why. Praying comes from the inner man. Your inner man. You know how you feel at the moment, and you know what to pray for. You know who you're praying to. A robot can't do that. So that's what humans have and we can do, but robots cannot do. But then again, AI has its role. So do we. So I believe the way to go is to combine both. And humans should never be afraid of robots or AI.
So, Gary, we should continue to focus and develop our core strengths as humanity in terms of empathy, in terms of emotional
Yes.
intelligence, right? And in terms of things that's uniquely to humanity, would you say so?
Absolutely.
And then that's so important, right? Because we need to understand that there's certain strengths that in us that, you know, a lot of this technology will never be able to replicate because it's uniquely human,
Yes.
right? And I do think that with these uniquely human attributes of ours, and we continue to amplify them, I think the world will be a better place where we combine the strengths of both type. One we call it biologically intelligence, and the other is artificial intelligence. And we combine together, we get hybrid intelligence,
Yes.
right? And I am so optimistic about, you know, where all these are going.
Me too.
Yeah. So Gary, I mean, you have been in IT for so long. I mean, you have held so much senior IT positions. You have helped companies to transform into the digital realms, right? For retailers who are looking to digitize, who are looking to create a converged experience, who are looking to bring some of this technology in, you know, often it's very daunting. It's very daunting. Digital transformation is a very big topic, you know. Is there 3 low-hanging fruits or 3 tips that you could give some of our retailers out there who are looking to transform and create maybe the hybrid, the retail 2.0 concept that we're talking about, to bring the best of human touch, to bring the best of sites, extended sensors, right? Emotional connections together. What will these 3 tips be?
Okay. First of all, have a culture of innovation. Allow your people to innovate. Don't stifle them. I always say to my friends or those who are leaders, when you're home, if you see your living room is a bit messy because the kids are trying to explore something, it's okay. Let them explore. Better still, right? Create a lab for them to explore new stuff. Let them play with it. Allow them to make mistakes within that lab. And when they make mistakes, don't nag at them. Don't nag. Let them explore and they will come with something good. So create a culture of innovation.
Right.
Secondly, when you kick off a project like this, I always like the approach of starting at a smaller scale. Go phase by phase, finish one phase, learn from the previous phase, you gain the confidence, you move on to another phase. Don't wait for all stars to be aligned before you start a project because it will take a long time. Before you know it, game over.
All right.
Okay. And then third, if you're deploying a new technology, it means that it's a change. Some people, they forgot that if you're trying to introduce a new thing, people will tend to have fear or resist. So it's a change that's coming. They're not certain what's going to happen to them. So it's important to include the change elements in your project before you kickstart. So identify the impact of what you're going to do. Impact to the human, impact to your processes, impact to your current systems. So change element is important to consider. You need to enable that change. You know, you are not there to force things down their throat. So these are the 3 things.
Oh, Gary, I like that. You know, let me just summarize the 3 things that you talk about, right? The first thing is to be mindful that, you know, start the innovation process. And there will always be failures.
Yes.
and we need to fail, right? So failing and failing fast is an important asset in today's condition when things are moving so fast.
Yes.
Right. And the second thing is that you don't need to wait. You can't wait because the speed of change is so fast. You know, you need to do what you can do, and you need to start executing.
Yes.
And get baby steps, baby wins, get the
Yes.
confidence as you take on bigger and bigger projects. Don't come with a big bang approach, right? That could be dangerous to an organization. And the third thing that you were talking about is along the line of change agents, right? To put that fear, to communicate, right? To ensure that people are aware of what's going on, so that they have the buy-in to ensure that the
Yes.
project is more successful, right?
Correct.
Wow.
Spot on.
Thank you, Gary. I think those are very important wisdom for transformation for our audience and for people who are looking to take the first step, in terms of approaching or trying to reach that, the holy grail of the converged retail or the retail 2.0 that we are talking about. But for leaders themselves, right, in this in this age of disruption in retail, right, for these leaders, what do you think are the 3 skills that they need to harness, they need to focus on, so that they are able to bring their concept to reality, right? The transformation is, of course, something that we have to put in place. But in terms of leaders, what are the skills that we need?
I think first, you should have that humility. I mean, you might ask, if you're a leader, you shouldn't be too humble. But the fact is, nobody knows everything. I don't know everything. So it's important to show humility. That means you're open to ideas. You're open to getting people who are better than you or know more than you in certain areas to help do the work.
Right.
So I think that is key. Humility. That brings me to the second point. But don't have fake humility, because people can spot that. If you're a leader, you're a leader. Don't be overly or trying to imitate or fake humility. So if you're a leader, number 2, you're supposed to communicate. So you're supposed to communicate your vision, your direction to your team. Right? So that kind of run contrary to humility. Who am I? If I want to be humble, who am I to tell the team my vision, my direction? But hey, you're a leader. People expect that. So you need to communicate. And then never be afraid to over-communicate. Right? I would rather people tell me that I am long-winded than they telling me, Gary, you don't communicate. I don't know what's your vision. So that's 2. Number 3 is to sharpen your saw. You know a saw?
Yeah.
Like a knife, right? Over time, what will happen to the saw or the knife? It get blunt. It cannot cut. So as a leader, we need to sharpen the saw. That means you need to engage your physical aspects. You need to stay healthy, stay strong. Your mental, you got to make sure that you're in the right mental state. And then third is the spiritual. I mean, I believe in God. So I will engage God. And then there's the fourth one, right? Sharpen your skills. Go and learn. Learn things that you don't know. I mean, which brings you back to humility, right? So you know there's something that you don't know, so you learn. I can learn from Tony. I can learn from Andrew. I can learn from anywhere else. So sharpen the saw.
Thanks, Gary. Again, some very nice gems of wisdom there. I think humility is so important. Sometimes we get too carried away.
Yeah.
With our success, with our own ego, with our own pride, and you think that you know all. And
Don't think you're a big shot because you're a leader,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the seeds of failure starts from there.
Yes.
All right, because you can just miss the turn. At the end of the day, what happened? It could be that frog in the boiling water, they call it, right?
Yes.
And before you know it, you are boiled alive.
Yes.
I think humility is an important base for leaders today. Okay, especially when we have multiple convergence of digital innovations coming together at an alarming rate, and this will accelerate in the next few years. There's no way we can know everything. No way. And I myself experienced the second thing that you talk about, communication. And I'm a big believer of over-communication. Over-communication, it could be irritating, but under-communicate is dangerous.
It is.
Right? And this can lead to a lot of unseen complications in an organization, and also between subordinates and leaders, execution, so to speak. And of course, you talk about optimization, you talk about growth mentality, right? That's tied to humility, right? Continue to grow, never think that you have reached or never arrived, because life is a journey.
It
Right?
is.
You will never arrive until the day that you are buried 6 feet under. But it is always a journey. And looking at the rates of change, this journey has to accelerate. This is now more important than ever. Right? If you're not able to optimize your life, then you are not able to then provide the best to your organization or to provide your best to the people that you are leading. And that will not amplify yourself as a leader, wouldn't you say so? Did I just summarize it correctly? What you
Totally
just
agree.
said?
Spot on again.
Wow, I mean, Gary, thanks. I think it's really important, that we get this perspective sometimes, because sometimes we get to lose it. And these are fundamental things. And sometimes we don't look at fundamentals, when we move. And and therefore, because of some of these things, we lose clarity, which is dangerous, of
Yes.
course. So thanks, Gary, for sharing that with us. I want to ask you a question about leadership. In today's world of social media, your ability to communicate is very, very important, because you can amplify your influence today as a leader. What do you think about personal branding today for leaders? How important is personal branding to leaders today? Because in the past, it was all about company branding, about Nike, McDonald's, Marlboro, the famous brands, But we also see a shift in that today because of all these convergence of social media and stuff like that, right? What is the role that personal branding is playing today?
I think that is very key. I've mentored people. I mean, people who are younger than us. So they're asking, how can they make themselves better known in where they work? So that's actually branding. I mean, without saying the word. So they're asking about how to brand themselves. So it's certainly key. Branding is key, especially in this age. Social media now is in the rage. So yes, as leaders, it's important to brand yourself. You want to be known for something. You want to be the go-to person for something, right? Like, for example, yourself, right? Who knows? Tony might be the one who's become well known for doing podcasting. So that could be your branding that you're trying to achieve here. I can see here the future in the present.
Thanks for reminding my branding to the audience, Gary.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
So that's your branding. So it's key. And you talk about Gen Z and all that. They like to look at who they can follow. So personal branding will lead you to have a bunch of followers, right? But that will mean if you have personal branding, if you're a leader with that kind of brand, it will mean you have a responsibility to do something right. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is very interesting, this trend. You see Satya Nadella or all the major leaders today, the new generation of leaders,
Yeah.
they have more followers than their organization brand,
Yes.
right? We are seeing a big trend that people follow people today. you know.
Yes.
And what you just said about personal branding, about influencing, I think it's important. I mean, it adds another, it amplifies the ability of a leader today, especially in this digital age that we are talking about.
Yeah.
And coming with branding, a point that's very close to branding would be communication, right? In this age of virtual meeting, we have things like Zooms, we have speaking engagements to amplify your brand. How important do you think that we need to harness and sharpen our communication skill? I know we talked about communication earlier. I know over-communication is important, but how about the skill of communication? How important is it and how relevant is it today and going forward?
Yes, evolved, especially in the past 6 months because of COVID-19. I think we all do meetings a lot over Zoom, right? And to communicate over Zoom is different. It requires a lot of energy.
Right.
Your eyes, even your voice, you tend to talk louder. And there are things that you do over Zoom, you cannot do it as in now. I mean, for example, when I talk, I like to use my hands, right? But if you communicate over Zoom, people cannot see your hands. And not only that, you look weird, when you try to be so animated over Zoom.
Right.
Which is, so some people are not conscious of that, including me. Gestures, right? Gestures cannot, it's hard to use gestures to communicate over Zoom. The other point about Zoom is that I'm not sure. When you talk to your colleagues, your friends over Zoom, are you looking at them or are you looking at the screen? Tell me. You're looking at them, aren't you?
Yeah, sometimes I'm looking at the screen.
Yeah, but your colleagues over the end, when they look at you, they can see that you're looking at the screen.
Right.
You know why? Because you're looking at the screen.
Right.
But the camera lens is on top of the screen.
Right.
So we got to train our eyes to look at the camera and not the screen.
Right.
But it's difficult.
Right.
Because naturally you look at yourself and the screen.
Right.
Right. So I'm wondering, is there a kind of a screen where the camera is right in the middle of the screen?
Yeah.
So it looks natural, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to train your eyes at the camera when you're talking to your colleagues who's on the screen.
Yeah, I think that's $1 million business right there for us to solve, Gary. But you mentioned something that's very interesting. You mentioned a lot about non-verbal communication.
Yes.
You talk about gestures, you talk about the eye movements. And non-verbals, according to people who are experts on communication skills, makes up about 80% of the experience in communication.
Yes.
The non-verbal cues. So I think that from what you mentioned, non-verbals plays a very key role, especially in today's virtual environment where we only can see half the body. Right, your eye movements, your hand gestures becomes very important, or not. You will be amplified because it's a very personal thing. Because when you are speaking and your audience, maybe about 50 to 1,000 people can be just looking at you, and you are suddenly in the middle of the screen, and your eye movement is so obvious to all the people who are having their one-to-one virtual experience with you, right? It's amplified.
Yes.
So I think getting the right communication skills, understanding how to control your non-verbals are critical today. Wouldn't you say so?
Totally agree. That's why Zoom is good, but Zoom is tricky. You know? It depends on how's the screen. The screen may just be showing your face, you know.
Yeah.
So you can show all you can, you know. They can't see your arms.
Right.
Because the screen is just like this.
Right. Right.
They can't see your gestures.
Right.
So it's tricky.
Right.
Right. And then if you were to zoom onto your face, if you have any flaws in your face, like you say, it's magnified.
Yes. It magnifies, amplified.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Gary, and I've mentioned earlier, you have been such a successful leader. You are also a career mentor in Nanyang University, Technology University, mentoring all these people who are coming out to work. People always look highly upon you. People put you on a pedestal. Was there a time in your life that, you weren't so successful? Was there a low time in your life? Did you hit a low in your life? And how do you feel and how do you recover from that?
Okay, before I address that question, let's talk about mentorship. Mentorship is not one way, it's two ways.
Right.
I also learn from my mentee.
Right.
Just because your mentee is younger, it doesn't mean you can't learn from him or her.
Right.
I learn a lot from my mentee.
Right.
Because they're into a lot of social media, they're into a lot of tools, systems. They follow a lot of leaders as well. So we learn from them. They work in industries which you and I may not have worked in.
Right.
So we learn from them. It's two ways. It's not one way. Okay. Now about low point in life, there are quite a lot of low points in my life. I mean, life is not perfect. Life is never fair. We all know. So one of my lowest points was in the 90s. I started IT as being an ERP consultant, Enterprise Resource Planning Systems. It was in great demand. It was so good that at one point I got 5 job offers from well-known companies. That's rare, isn't it? Have 5 job offers concurrently. So I picked one, and then I got on with life. Life was good, I was in demand, so you felt you're like a big shot, And as with all good things, they don't last. So ERP was going down, demand is not there, projects not many. And then here comes Internet 2.0, and I asked myself, what am I going to do next? So that went on for quite a while. So I got worried. And then I looked at what's happening out there in the world. And I'm sure you heard about the Enron case.
Yes.
Enron, there was a fraud there, and then the company had to wind up. And because of that, US have got a new law, Sarbanes-Oxley Act.
Yes.
Companies listed in the US, they've got to be compliant with that act. And I thought that's an opportunity. Because a lot of companies are using systems like SAP in those days. And I was experienced in SAP. So with that SAP skills, I moved into the space of risk management. So I was riding high on a wave, but the wave was coming down. And I see the next wave coming. I hop onto the next wave using what I've learned or acquired in the first wave. But yet there's a gap. So I'm able to learn something new in that next wave. All right, so what did I learn from there? Don't be too comfortable in the wave you're riding on right now. Be ready to see the next wave because nothing lasts forever.
But how did that gap hit you personally?
It's quite obvious that the demands was coming down. Projects aren't many, so you can feel it.
But is there a point where it comes down so bad that you lost a job in between, or your morale was crushed, or confidence level was dampened?
I thank God I didn't lose my job, but I feel that if I continue, the projects will just vanish. Yeah, I mean there's nothing much in the pipeline. So if I have to continue, it will happen. So I cannot wait for it to happen. And secondly, I'm the kind of guy, I don't like to work on the same thing, for years and years. I like to move on and like I said, sharpen the saw. I want to pick up new skills. So when I saw this opportunity, I have something that I can offer, so I just jumped on it. I mean, I thank God I was offered the opportunity to learn something new while contributing my experience.
Right. Was there like a your ability? So you have moved from one phase to the next phase, and you're able to adapt, and it kind of like it kind of bridged that difference between these two requirements along that way. But what allowed you to have that mental state, that clarity to see that there's this new wave coming and prep yourself for that? What was that thing in you that allows you to have this vision? What was the thing that in you that allows you to learn something new continuously?
I think the first thing is grittiness. You've got to be tenacious. You got to be gritty enough. Once you identify something, of course, you must be quite certain that is the thing to go for. You got to have the grit to press on. And if you hit an obstacle or anything that kind of stops you, like herein comes the second point. You got to be resilient. Because there will be low points, in your low points. So you got to be resilient enough to bounce back, If it fails, try again. Be resilient. I learned from one of my shifu. I learned a bit of Wing Chun, yeah.
Wow.
So he explains the concept of Wing Chun, right? It's always moving forward. When there's something blocking you, you don't stop there, right? So as soon as that thing goes away, you got to be able to move on, spring back.
Right.
Like a bamboo.
Right.
Right. It's hard to break a bamboo. Once you bend it, you let go, it will shoot back.
Right.
But a branch, it's not like bamboo. You can just easily break it.
Right.
But bamboo, you can't. You can break it if you bend it hard. But if you just bend it, you will let go, it will shoot back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is what one should be. And that's what I have.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Wing Chun is a development of Bruce Lee, right? It's a Bruce Lee started, and then there was Wing Chun later. And Bruce Lee was known for this, like flow like water,
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that is exactly what you're talking to me about. So if you look back, actually this concept of Wing Chun, flowing, grittiness, resilience, I begin to pick up this something that's very central to your life, Gary.
Yeah. So it's not about knowing Kung Fu and being able to beat up somebody. Understand the principles and then you apply accordingly in your life.
Right. I think this is very, very important, especially right now when there's so much changes that's going on. People are looking for opportunities. People are getting clarity of the future, where they're going to go. People are in the midst of changing their career options. Having that grit, the resilience, and the ability to go with the flow are just so critical today, right? To allow us to navigate through all these changes, all these disruptions, because there's also opportunities at the end of the day that we need to know. I think if we are armed with these three things, I think the opportunities for us to optimize these opportunities is so much better. The chances of us thriving is definitely higher with these three. So Gary, is there a quote in your life that you live by that's important, that guides you through all these years?
Oh, there are many. There's not one quote. But my favorite would be, don't pray and hope for an easy life, but pray for the strength to grow through issues that come along your way.
Wow.
Because there will be issues.
Yes.
Life ain't easy. Life won't be fair. Nothing is fair.
Don't ask for easier life, ask for a stronger you. That's what you're
Yes,
saying. When you're
yes.
stronger, the problems becomes easier.
Yes.
And that comes back to the earlier point. So you're very consistent in terms of how you look at life, Gary.
In a way, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
interesting.
Sharp.
Yes.
You're
So
sharp.
I want to ask you this last question, right? You know, COVID-19 has caused so much gloom and doom for a lot of people out there. You know, every time you open a newspaper, it's all bad. But I always believe that no matter how bad things are, there's always something good. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So during this COVID-19, what was that like for you? You know, that you feel that you have gained something from this COVID-19
I
experience.
save money.
You save money. Yes, that's a good
Because
one.
I can't go for holidays.
Right,
So I save money.
right.
I can't go and shop and buy that many things. I mean, do you buy clothes?
I actually have to admit, I still buy some. Lesser, but some.
Lesser,
Yeah,
right? I
yes.
mean, do you have to wear clothes, your nice clothes, you know, at home when you work from home?
Yeah.
Well, some of us do, but not every day, right?
Yeah.
So I save money. And the other thing is that I was able to declutter quite a few things.
Ah,
Decluttering.
that's a major theme in COVID-19 for some people, decluttering.
Because you realize that actually there are a lot of things that you don't need,
Right.
right? Do we need so many things? No. The answer is no. Decluttering. So the third thing, COVID shows that human beings need human beings, you know. You cannot work from home all day long for months and months and months. There is a pub or restaurant just outside my house. It's amazing. Before COVID, it was quite quiet on weekdays. It's only busy on weekends. But in June, when phase 2 opens up, it's busy every day. Even on weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What's the reason? What do you think is the reason?
Well, people crave their social connection.
Absolutely. It's pent-up demand.
Yep.
People cannot be at home for too long,
Right.
right? So back to our topic, online shopping. After having done online shopping for 6 months, people want to get out and shop
Yes.
at the analog store to feel the experience.
Yeah. I think from this conversation it's very clear. Analog stores is not just going to stay, but they're going to be amplified once they get the basic elements right.
Yes.
And if they listen to some of your advice, some of your wisdom about transformation, how to coexist with technology, how to digitize and converge the experience, I think this is going to be amazing for not just the online analog stores, but it is also important for us as humanity because this will push the uncles, the aunties, everybody who are working in the retail sector to up their service, which ultimately will give us a better experience.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Gary. Thank you very much. You know, for
Thanks for
joining
having me.
joining the Tony Tan Show, and it's lovely to have you. And we have all certainly gained and become better from this conversation.
Thank you again for having me.
All right, I'll see you soon, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Tony Tan Show and podcast. I hope this was valuable to you, and we look forward to bring you more exciting contents in our next coming episodes. To be updated about our next episodes, please remember subscribe to our channel so that you'll get the latest information from us. My name is Tony Tan, and I'm bringing the future into the present. I look forward to see you soon. Thank you.